Okay, we'll get started now. Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar on inventory management and stock controls. My name is Sarah Ward and you might remember me from the last webinar on the end of financial year process. Eddie Baker was originally scheduled to lead this webinar, but he is unfortunately unavailable at the moment, so you have me instead. I'll be taking you through some of the inventory management tools and extended inventory functions available within EXO. The first thing we're going to look at is a module called Distribution Advantage. Distribution Advantage is a free module available within EXO that can utilise purchase and sales ordering processing and stock transfers between branches and locations within your business. Okay, I have it on my drop-down menu here. Even though Distribution Advantage is a free module available to all users, it isn't on either the drop-down menu or the graphical menus by default. If you would like to talk about implementing Distribution Advantage within your organisation, please contact Focus and we'll get it up and running for you. Today we're going to be looking at 4 main features of Distribution Advantage: on-demand purchase orders, batch sales order line processing, stock transfer requests and stock immediate transfers. We're just going to take a quick look at all of these, and if you've got any questions please ask them at the end of this section. The first thing we're going to look at is an on-demand purchase. Now I've already created a sales order to match the criteria for this, but this is just as an example to use for today. So if a customer has ordered multiple items from you and you run your stock in an on-demand system, meaning that you purchase stock from your suppliers as your customers order it, you can use this process to generate purchase orders for all the items the customer has ordered from you, even if you then purchase those stock items from different suppliers. So I'm just going to select the sales order that I've made here. And here are all the suppliers that are affected by this sales order that I've created. So in order to set up the purchase orders for these, you simply click there to forward and it tells you which stock items it's purchasing here and confirming the supplier up here and the supplier details, and you simply process. At this stage you get the option to change the date, the due date, the person ordering it and the location it's going to. We're happy with all of that. We're not going to print those, we can review those later. And the same thing for the next line. We process, okay, no, and last one, forward and process. And we set those up now. So just going to pop back into here and I'll show you the sales order that I originally had. It's here for Daniel Payne. And here you can see all the lines there. Happy as. If we pop now into the purchase orders screen, you can see the purchase orders that we've just generated for Daniel's order. So the next thing we're going to look at within Distribution Advantage is the batch sales order line processing. And this section is particularly useful if you have a large number of sales orders that you need to process all at once. We're just going to be looking at that one example that we used earlier. So EXO has a set batch tasks set up already. These are just standard tasks that you can use to batch process these sales orders. So what we're going to do is we're going to supply all lines for Daniel's order. So here, and we're going to process. I'm going to post our stock movement and create a packing slip. And it's now complete, and we delete the batch. Now we pop out of there and back in, can get a new task here for invoice all, sorry, supply all lines. Now pop in here, and we go there, supply, and we supply a stock that's on hand, and you can see that the order quantities have now populated in the supply section. And we'll process, okay. Just give it a wee minute to process, and you can see a packing slip that would go along with Daniel's order, and that process is complete. Open that up again, and now we can invoice all as a bulk task. There we go. And we process that, and we see on the screen that now we've got post invoice and print the tax invoice as our selected options. Okay, so now that we've completed that, we can pop back into Daniel's debtor account, and we can pop over to the transactions tab, and you can see that we've invoiced him now for the items that he ordered. That just simplifies the purchase order process and the bulk sales order processing as well. The next thing we're going to look at is stock transfers available within Distribution Advantage. There are two types of stock transfers available: immediate transfers and transfer requests. Immediate transfers take the stock directly out of one location and insert it into another. As per the name, these are used if the stock is being transferred immediately or overnight. So it lives in the same place on the transactions menu, and it is just an immediate transfer like that. So we create a new one. It gives us the option to change who's requesting it, the type. We only have one type set up at the moment, and these are important, the from location. So we're going to take it from Wellington and we're going to send it to Christchurch. We select the stock items that you're transferring between the locations. Just like that. And we're going to process. I'm not going to print the documentation. Now we can go into the stock item again, and we sent one of those. And if we pop over to the transactions tab and open it up to all locations, we can see that stock item coming out of Wellington here and transferring into Christchurch, and it's going through at a zero price, so it's not going to have an effect on your income or your expenses. The next type of stock transfer available within Distribution Advantage is a stock transfer request. These can be used by staff at other branches or locations to request stock from your head office if that branch or location has a particular stock item that needs replenished. Now this works especially well for places that have a centralised purchasing system where all stock is purchased into one head office or warehouse location and then distributed to your other branches and locations as they need or request it. So in this process, the staff at the destination location would create a new transfer request, and they would say I'm in Sydney and I need to request my stock from Auckland, and we then again we put the stock items in the request. We'll just send to and then send it. Okay, so what that's done is it's sent a stock transfer request in EXO, and if the people at the warehouse or the head office then opened the screen, they would see that someone has requested stock to be sent from Auckland to Sydney and its status is new request. So they would send it and process. Okay, so we can't send that stock item because it is not in stock at the moment. So go back there. And we'll just remove that off there just for the purposes of this example. And process. And we would like to prime the receiving process. And this is the packing slip that the head office or warehouse staff could then print and attach to the order that has been requested by the destination location. Okay, and when the stock arrives in its destination location, the receiving staff would then open up this request and tick it off against the packing slip and what they had received, and then hit receive. They would receive all and process. And that's just a document that they can print for their records. To have a look at what the effect on your stock items is you open up the stock item and again pop into the transactions tab, and you can see here the process that the system has gone through in order to process the transactions as requested. You can see that the stock has the order of these transactions is just not quite coming through right for me at the moment because I've just not quite done it right. So you can see here, this is the stock coming out of Auckland and going into the transit location. The transit location essentially means that that stock is not available for sale while it's moving between branches, so it couldn't accidentally be sold by the branch that's sending it or by the branch that's receiving it in the meantime. So, and there it's coming out of transit, and you see the next transaction up there processing into Sydney. Okay, so that's the end of the distribution advantage section. If anyone's got any questions about distribution advantage, please ask them now. Oh, we have a question. A question from Graham. Yeah, Graham, that's a really good question. Is there an alert that comes up in the system to let you know that there's a new stock transfer request available within Distribution Advantage? At the moment, there's nothing out of the box. That would be something that would have to be reviewed by staff on a daily basis or twice a day or however frequently you wanted. It is possible that we could write something, but obviously that would be customised to your organisation, and we'd have to discuss how much time that would take. Okay, it doesn't look like we've got any other questions at the moment, so we're going to move on to the next section. The next thing we're just going to take a quick look at is barcodes. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but barcodes can be stored within the Details 2 tab of EXO, just in this section here. Now, they are stored as a series of numbers, but when they're printed, they're interpreted into the barcode format that you would expect. Now, we do have an example of a label printed out of EXO here. So this would be if we'd printed a label for this oval chrome air filter, it would put the barcode on there, and that barcode would then be able to be scanned either into your warehousing software or your purchasing or your sales software. Now, if a product comes from a supplier with a predefined barcode, we can store that information in EXO, or we can set up a way to generate barcodes for your stock items. Using barcodes on stock has an obvious advantage for retailers. They can just scan the items into their point of sale system and process a sale. It also has advantages in warehousing and stock management. How much easier would your stock take be if you could simply scan the barcode on each item and have EXO upload that into your stock take, rather than physically counting each item and manually keying that count into the system? There are a multitude of third-party software providers that can create products to utilise the barcodes set against stock items within EXO. These can be point of sale systems, but equally, and probably we're seeing an increase in popularity of these systems, is the warehouse management systems. These products simplify the process of selling or transferring stock by allowing barcodes to be scanned and inserting those transactions into EXO, rather than the manual process of keying stock codes into EXO to process sales, purchases or transfers. The international standard in barcode generation is set by an organisation called GS1. They can create barcodes for any product, and they keep an international database of all barcodes so that there's no replication across products. They drive the international standards in barcode setting and the way we identify items. These allow us to identify what our products are versus what our suppliers' products are. Now, at the next workshop on the 11th of May, we're going to have demonstrations of some of these third-party warehouse management systems. So if you haven't already signed up to come along to that in Christchurch, please get in contact with us after this. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is a function called forecast-based purchase orders. Now, there are a few things that need to be set on a stock item before we can utilise this functionality, but they are quite simple. The first thing is that you have to have a supplier assigned against the stock item. So when you open up your stock item, you have this section here. By clicking the three buttons, you're bringing up your list of all your suppliers. You can select whichever one you normally purchase that stock item from. And the other thing that has to be set is the minimum and maximum locations, but these have to be set by location. So you have to open up that button and you can set your stock minimums and maximums up by location. And in here you can just change them to be whatever you would like them to be, just simply by doing that. So there can be a bit of time spent in initially setting up your stock items to utilise forecast-based purchase orders, but you'll see when I go through the example the significant amount of time it can save you through the purchasing process. Okay, so we're happy with that stock item now. We're just going to run through a forecast-based purchase order. So this is by default in your transactions drop-down menu, and it's under purchase orders and forecast-based purchase orders. So that brings up this screen here. So the first thing you want to do is select a supplier that you want to order from. So tonight we're going to look at the Auckland Parts Mart, and then you have to define the location you're ordering for, and we're going to order for Wellington. So the next thing we're going to do is refresh the stock requirements calculator. This calculates the required stock based on those minimums and maximums that we've put into the stock items and compares that to the actual on-hand quantities. Okay, and then once we've done that, we can click the red button and generate our order list. You can see here it's bringing us through 3 stock items that the system would like us to order. You can see that it's showing us what free stock we have available and then the maximum stock we'd order, and telling us then what it thinks we should order now. Now this isn't a rigid column, excuse me, this order now, it can be changed. So we might say when we ordinarily wouldn't have more than 30 on hand, but we do know that we've got a big project coming up, so today we're going to order 50. The next thing that you can do in here is if you're ordering from this supplier and you think, oh, there's a lot of things I'd also like to order, you can tick that, list all suppliers stock, and the red button again, and this brings through every single stock item that we order from that supplier. So you can, now we can go down and say we want 5 of those and 10 of those and 15 of those and 20 of those. And when you're happy with the order now quantities, it's a very simple process. It's to click on this button here, post order to screen. And what that does is it actually generates the purchase order for us. It sets our location and it sets the supplier and it brings through all the stock items that we requested on that screen, and we can save and send that. Yes, I'm sure. And printing would be our way to send it in this case. So that is forecast-based purchase ordering. Has anyone got any questions about forecast-based purchase ordering? We've got a question here from Jackie. She's asking if we can change the order now amounts to be based on the minimum stock requirements rather than the maximum stock requirements. Yep, and that can absolutely be done. If there's no other questions about forecast-based purchase orders, I'm just going to move on to the next section, which is sale price margins on stock groups. So, as you'll all be aware, your stock items are all defined by stock groups. You've got your core stock groups, which are your primary stock groups, and your fine stock groups that are your your fine stock groups are your primary stock group, and your core stock groups are your secondary stock groups. Now, stock groups are set up within EXO config, and you can find them in the admin tools, and just out of sight down here are stock groups. You can see this is the list that we've set up. So in this example, we're going to pop in and have a look at engines. This is a stock group, so everything that we do in this screen will affect every stock item that is assigned to this stock group. You can see here that we've got an expected margin of 50% with a margin variance of plus or minus 5%. So this expected margin is something that we can use to set a sell price based on a particular cost of the stock item. And I'm just going to pop into a stock item that's related to this group and show you what I mean. So I'm going to filter it by, by stock group and bring up this Pro Style air filter here. Now you can see that we have an expected margin sale price here, and it's grey, which means that it's a calculated field and you can't overtype it. What this expected margin field is we've set this up so that it's a 50% margin based on the last sale price. So if we were to change the sale price here, and we save and exit out of there, just ignore that message. Pop back. You can see our expected margin sale price has changed as this has been changed. The last sale price, the last cost price is changed when you receipt stock in and go through that inwards goods costing process. It changes this based on the actual last cost you paid for that stock item. Now, when we're looking at this, we can see we've got another sale price here, internet sale price, and it's $50, but what we might want to do is to uplift that so that it matches the expected margin sale price. To do that, we simply click on this tool here and select it and save it, and it tells us that the new sale price has been added. And you can see now that we are up to $75 for a sale price on that, which is based on that 50% margin of the last cost price. The sale prices can be a function of any of these cost prices. It can be the standard, the average, the last, or the standard supplier cost price. Right, so that about wraps it up for sale price margins on stock groups. Has anyone got any questions about that, or any questions overall, because we're just about finished? Got a question here from Kent asking about on-demand purchase orders. He's just asking about shipping direct to customers via on-demand purchase orders. It's definitely a process that we can set up for you. Depending on what your requirements are, it may need some customization, but yeah, we're sure we've got that working in other locations. Are there any other questions at this stage? Okay, if there's no more questions, we'll finish up here. I'll wait around for a few more minutes just to see if any other questions come through, but thank you very much for your time today, and don't forget about the next EXO workshop, which is in Christchurch on the 11th of May. If you'd like to register for that, you can contact us and you can come along. It's free to attend, and we'll probably feed you as well. So. Hi Doug, we can actually send you something through about the Christchurch meeting, the workshop. If you just give us some time, we can forward an email through to you about what content's going to be covered. It's going to basically piggyback off of what we've talked about today. We're going to have some demonstrations from some third-party software providers around warehousing and freight management, and there's going to be some other smaller topics that will be covered off that haven't yet been confirmed. But we can get your email address off the recipient list from today, and then we can send you out something for that. Okay, thank you. And just another question here from Graham. He's just asking about enabling the calculated expected margin field on the stock items. Graham, that's a process that we have to do on the database itself. So if I'll get Eddie to contact you sometime this afternoon, hopefully, and he can talk about what we need to do for that for you, just to get that all up and running.